Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm standing on a yoga mat. If you don't happen to have one, find a place in your house that's carpeted. Maybe you've got a rug that's solid, not something that's going to slip out from underneath you. I just want you to have a little bit of padding, something that's not too slick. And that rug or carpeting can be your yoga mat for today. I've got 2 yoga blocks. A great substitute would be 2 thick books. And if I want to use it, I have a throw blanket here on my sofa that I can use to pad my knees. Sometimes I take the pillows or cushions off of my couch to sit on if I want a little bit more spaciousness. It's fun to use the things in our house and to learn how to make this practice feel the best it possibly can for us. Now, once we have our goodies, we will stand in our foundational pose, so mountain pose with our feet hip distance and parallel. You might face that short front edge of your mat. If you don't have a mat, just imagine what that might look like. Let's make some circles away from each other and make that circle originate at our shoulder joint. Then make a circle with your palms facing out. Allow your arms to rest along your sides. A soft bend in your knees, chin parallel to the ground. Can you feel an uplift in your chest from this way in which we've settled our arms? And it's here that we stop so that we can start. We stop feeling the need to answer every single text message. We stop using things as an excuse to fidget. We start to fully inhabit this moment. And as we do, let's find our breath and use our breath as a tool to land in the here and now. Fully experience your inhale and fully experience your exhale. If you're able to, narrow the inhale and the exhale down to in and out through your nose. Let's add movement. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V, and then just simply exhale and float your arms along your sides. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape, and then exhale. Float your arms along your sides, adding on. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands onto your thighs. Let's use our hands on our thighs like a prop. So I'll turn sideways. Palms are flat. We've got a hinge at our hip. That's different than a crumble and a fold. So part of our awareness in this practice is what's called proprioception, knowing where we are in space. Use your hands as tactile feedback to feel that length. And then let's keep our length and play with sliding our hands a little down our thighs. Maybe even towards our shins, but that's not a goal. If you're starting to round and crumble, head back up again to where you can create space. Knowing that is what makes you an advanced practitioner. Then we will slide our hands back up and just come to standing with our arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, and pause here in our mountain. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs, or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. You can even use your thighs once again, and then fold it in and bend your knees as deeply as you need to get your palms flat on the ground. Step back to down dog. Push the ground away, right away. Step back. For this first one, step your feet as wide as your mat. Be on the balls of your feet. Bend your knees and lift your hips to the sky, as if there was a hook there in your tailbone. Continue to push the ground away and enjoy some length on your back body, your front body, your side body. Walk your feet forward to your hands, hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale, and then back down, exhale. We inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V, and stand in our mountain with our palms facing out. Adding more. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge at hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up and lift your heart, inhale. Bend your knees as deeply as you need for palms to go flat. Push the ground away and step to down dog. Maybe this time your feet are hip distance, but wider is great. Beyond the balls of your feet, probably. Lift your hips high. Let's shift on an inhale, shoulders over wrists in a plank, and then find the hook in our tailbone and go back to our down dog. Inhale, shift to plank, shoulders over wrists, and then keep pushing the ground away. Hips lift up and back. One more time, shift shoulders over wrists. Let's pause a moment. You might bring your knees down or not. You're pushing the ground away so that there's not a collapse into your shoulders and there's no bend in our elbows. Find the hook in your tailbone, take it back to down dog, and then walk your feet to your hands. Feet are hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale. Slide your hands down, exhale. And then we rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, inhaling, and we pause with our palms facing out. We'll continue to build this sun salutation A. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs, shins, or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees, palms go flat. The hook in your tailbone takes you to down dog. We'll come to plank, shoulders over wrists, and all of us will bring our knees down. Keep pushing the ground away so there's no cave in between your shoulder blades. There's what's called protraction, pushing the ground away. Keep your belly firm. Shift a little bit forward. You continue to push the ground away as you bend your elbows. Elbows brush your ribs, and we come all the way to the floor. Then once we're on the floor, uncurl your toes and bring your forearms parallel to the long edges of your mat in a Sphinx pose. Press into the tops of your feet until your kneecaps lift, and then traction your elbows towards you so it's an imprint of your shoulder blades into your spine and not a struggle of your chin to the sky here. Lower down, take your hands next to your floating ribs, curl your toes under in one piece, and with your elbows in, not flopping out to the side, we come to all fours. And from all fours, we navigate the hook in our tailbone that takes us to down dog. Push the ground away. Walk your feet forward to your hands. We're hip distance and parallel. Slide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart. Glide your hands down, exhale, we hinge in. And then inhale, rise, reach, thumbs to the sky, V. We pause in our mountain with our palms facing out. Let's flow. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to thighs or shins or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, lift your heart, bend your knees, palms flat. Push the ground away. The hook in your tailbone takes you to down dog, and then we come to plank, shoulders over wrists. Keep pushing the ground away and bring your knees to your mat. Continue to push the ground away, bend your elbows, come to your belly, elbows brush your ribs. Uncurl your toes and either leave your hands where they are this time or bring your forearms down for Sphinx, imprinting the shoulder blades into our spine. Lower down, curl your toes under. In one piece, we come to all fours. We find the hook in our tailbone, and that takes us into downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward to your hands. We're hip distance and parallel. Glide your hands up, inhale. Slide your hands down, exhale. And then we rise, reach, inhale, thumbs to the sky. And we pause in our mountain with our palms facing out. A slightly different dance. It begins the same. Inhale, V. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to thighs, shins or ankles. Glide your hands up, inhale, bend your knees deeply, palms flat, step to down dog. The hook is in your tailbone. Shift it towards a plank, and then come scissored to the outside of your right foot, inside of your left foot, and take your left hand onto your hip. If that's too much, bring your right knee down onto your mat while we're here, but oomph into that right arm. We're in a side plank variation. You might take your left arm up to the sky, and then carefully left hand down, spin on your toes. You're in a plank position, and we'll go to down dog, lifting our hips up and back. Then walk your hands to your feet. You're walking backwards, Bend your knees as deeply as you need to slide your hands beneath your feet and give your wrists a little break in the other direction. So you can have a very deep bend in your knees. If it works for you for some reason to straighten your legs a little bit, that's fine. We're not here long. Slide your hands out carefully. Walk into down dog. From down dog, we'll shift it forward towards a plank and then carefully come to the outside of our left foot, inside of our right foot. We're balanced on our left hand, right hand on your hip. Maybe you prefer to bring that left knee down onto your mat. That's a great way to do this. It could be that you take your right arm up to the sky, thumb to the sky. Just do your best. We'll spin on our toes, right hand down, and head to down dog with our hips lifting up. So your hands down on the ground and bend your knees deeply, that's fine. Or you can slide your hands underneath your feet. We're not here for a very long visit, just for a moment. Then you'll slide your hands out, bring your hands on your hips, firm your belly, and come to standing. Here we are at the back edge of our mat with our feet hip distance and parallel. We'll take a chair pose. So we'll bend our knees deeply and sit back as if we're sitting on something, and then hands into a prayer. Once your hands are in a prayer, twist towards your left and take your right elbow likely to the inside of that right thigh for a twist. Possibly, and this is not a goal, it's just an option, you take your right elbow to the outside of your left thigh. If that's rounding you or becoming a struggle, I think the better option is to take that right elbow on the inside of your right thigh. We're twisting and we're encouraging a sphinx-like back bend in the shoulder blade area of our spine. Then you'll unwind into a chair, thumbs to the sky, stand it up, and pause with your palms facing out. Chair pose, hands into a prayer. We turn to our right, and now it's our left elbow that finds its way likely into the inseam of our left leg, possibly left elbow on the outside of your right thigh. And we're twisting and encouraging a little sense of sphinx in the shoulder blade area of our spine. We have a couple of moments here. And then we come back down the middle to chair, thumbs to the sky. We'll stand up and pause in our mountain. Bring your hands onto your hips. Feel free to take this to the wall if it's helpful for balance. Shift your weight onto your left foot. Take your right leg out in front of you, and like you're dancing a jig, turn that right leg out so you can feel that it's happening at your hip. Plant that ball of your right foot to the inside of your left arch, so that's why I said you can use like a wall or the arm of your sofa, something for balance if it's helpful. Perhaps you take your right foot onto your left shin. Maybe you put your right foot into the inseam of that left thigh. None of us are letting this left hip collapse out to the side. And then you could play with growing the branches of your tree for a moment. It can be helpful to have that left hand on something. Then bring your hands on your hips, turn that right knee forward, and step down. If you went over to the wall, come back and join us here, feet hip distance at the back edge of your mat. Lift your heart, inhale, hinge as we exhale. Walk yourself out to down dog. Keep that hook in your tailbone and continue to push the ground away with your hands. Reach your right leg back behind you. Step that right foot forward. It's possible, if not likely, that you'll need to help it along. Let's bring our two books or blocks into the mix on either side of this right foot. And then carefully turn your left foot, your back foot flat, and inch this right foot over to the left just a little. Begin by taking your right forearm across your thigh and your left hand on your hip. What does this remind you of a little? Maybe that side plank that we did. We're not going to swing our right hip out. We're going to hug our right hip underneath. What does that remind you of? Maybe our tree pose. We pause here and possibly take our left arm up to the sky, maybe even take our right hand onto our block. We breathe and feel that there is a little bit of evidence of our tree pose happening in our right hip and a little bit of evidence of our side plank happening in our right hand. How about that? Bring your left hand onto your block and spin onto those left toes. Move your blocks out of your way. Palms flat, step it to down dog. Now you might opt to stay in down dog or join me as we come to a plank, shoulders over wrists. Knees come down. We carefully lower to our belly. And then uncurl your toes for either cobra pose or sphinx pose. Lower down, curl your toes under. In one chunk, we come to all fours. And then the hook in our tailbone takes us back to down dog. Once we're in down dog, walk your hands to your feet, all the way to that back edge of your mat, and then hands on your hips. Firm your belly and come to standing. Make sure that nothing feels woozy. Remember, this bit might be best at a wall. We'll stand on our right leg and take that left leg out in front of us, and from the hip joint, turn that left leg out and plant the ball of our left foot to the inseam of our right foot. Maybe you put that left foot on the calf part of that right leg. Maybe your left foot goes into the inseam of your right leg, and then we will grow our branches, and perhaps your right hand remains on something that's helpful. Since we did our first side, can you kind of feel how this becomes a little bit of a tool when we do what's called side angle, when we stand into that lunge? Bring your hands on your hips, or at least your left hand on your hip. Turn that left knee forward and step down. If you wandered away, come back and join us here at the back edge of our mat with our feet hip distance and parallel. And then hands on your hips, lift your heart, hinge and fold, and walk it carefully out to your downward facing dog. Once we're here in our down dog, lift your left leg behind you, step that left foot forward, help it along if it wants it or needs it, and then bring your two blocks on either side of that left foot so that we can orchestrate side angle slowly on our second side. Your right foot goes flat on the ground, and this left foot will walk over to the right a little bit. We first bring our left forearm across our thigh and our right hand onto our hip, and we can use a karate chop to make some space. We tuck our left hip underneath. We don't let it stray behind us. So that's that tree pose feel. And then we might take our right arm up to the sky, and we might take our left hand onto a block. And this is a little combo platter, you might say, of our side plank, our tree pose, and now this pose, which is called side angle. Let's soak in it for a few moments. We'll take our right hand on our block, spin on our right toes, move our blocks out of the way, palms flat, down dog. And this time in down dog, lift your right leg back behind you, step that right foot forward, help it along if it's helpful, and then bring your two blocks once again. We'll turn our back foot flat and move our blocks a little closer. Find that side angle. Remember how to do that? Left hand on your hip. We hug that right hip underneath us as if we were doing tree pose. And then we will upright into warrior two for a moment and straighten our right leg. It's like a trick question. This is not a side bend. This is a hinge at our hip. So reach way out with your right hand, and now with a straight front leg, not one that feels locked or terse, but one that feels like you're pressing the right big toe mound onto your mat. Take your right hand onto your block, left arm up to the sky, a pose called triangle pose. And we pause here. We're lengthening our right ribs and rotating those towards the sky, so it doesn't appear to be a side bend. That hinge at our hip is evident. We're going to soak here for 30 seconds of silence. You might prefer to bring your left hand on your hip. That's great. Now, bend your right knee and spin on your left toes as you bring your left hand to your block. Move your blocks, palms flat, down dog. Feel free to stay here in down dog or join me one more time, coming forward into a plank, pushing the ground away, knees come down, all the way to your belly you go. Uncurl your toes and traction into a cobra pose or a sphinx. Lower down, curl your toes under. In one chunk, we come to all fours. The hook in our tailbone takes us to down dog. Left leg lifts behind you. Step that left foot forward. Trot your 2 blocks in. Turn your back foot flat and heel toe this left foot over the right just a little. Left hand on your block, right arm up to the sky. And then we come upright, straighten our front leg, slide that right heel at a 45-degree angle in case it didn't quite arrive at that. And then it's a hinge at our hip, not a side bend. We reach way out with our left hand and take our left hand to our block. Right arm might stay straight up to the sky. Perhaps you bring your right hand on your hip if you prefer that. And then let's give ourselves that 30-second soak in silence here. And now coming out of this carefully, bend your front knee. Oh, hi, Tip. Spin on your back toes. Bring your hands onto your blocks. Then move those blocks off the side of your mat. Step it to a down dog, which I believe Tippy was just doing quite well. And then come onto all fours. We're shifting gears here, letting things soften a little bit. You're totally showing me up with your down dogs and your up dogs, Tip. And as we come to seated, we'll take a wide-legged seat. And this is a great opportunity to sit on a block or sit on a cushion or a folded blanket. But we'll take our legs wide out to the side, and most of us will want to keep a little bend in our knees. I don't want it to look like a rounded Dracula moment. Oh, hi. But a seated upright as much as we can. So sitting on something and or bending your knees is probably a really good idea. We'll walk ourselves forward a little bit here, but it might be plenty to just sit and keep our hands behind us, which I think I'll do for different reasons. And let's just feel a stretch on the inseams of our legs, am I right? And our hamstrings, and an opportunity, once again, to stop and breathe. Seconds here. Now, we'll start to bend our right knee and place that right foot, not exactly the tree pose version, but like a kind of wider tree pose here. So my left leg is straight, my right knee is bent. I'm not trying to put that foot in the inseam of my thigh. It's a little bit of a wider space. And then first we'll turn to our right and bring the outside of our left hand to the outside of our right thigh. And we'll keep this basic shape, but take our right hand behind our head and lean out a little bit towards that left leg. You're looking to spin those left ribs to the sky like we did in a triangle pose not so long ago. This does sort of resemble a little bit of a tree pose, so we keep on seeing some of our old friends in new contexts, don't we? Think of leaning into your hand, even though it's tempting to let your hand crumble you towards the ground. And it probably needs to kind of back off a little bit to feel spacious. Then we'll come upright and just as carefully help this right leg to straighten, so you can help it along, straighten it out to the side. Bend this left knee now. It's a little bit like a tree pose, but there's some space between my foot and my thigh. And then we will turn to our left, take the back of our right hand to the outside of our left thigh, and take a little spin, a little twist here for a sec. And then keeping this basic shape, take your left hand behind your head, and we'll lean out a little bit, probably not very much, but towards that right leg, just a touch. And we'll twist now our right ribs, our bottom ribs towards the sky. Yeah, good stretching. We got a few more moments here. We'll come upright, help it along carefully. Left leg straightens, and then right leg straightens. And we will take them out in front of us. We'll try. Anyway. And take your 2 blocks or books. This is still not a rounding experience, so just walk your hands a little bit forward, and we will traction ourselves into a bit of a forward fold. Somebody's looking for a little bit of attention. Tippy, we're really close to Shavasana. I can't play ball right now. We'll take a moment to stretch. Bring your blocks with you as you sit upright. You can take them off to the side. And I'm going to give you the option to either take a seated meditation or a down dog, sorry, or a Shavasana. So you can lie on your back and flop your feet open, close your eyes, even cover your eyes, or sit in a cross-legged position. And it is here that we rest and digest. You're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana final meditation as long as you would like. If it's time, give yourself a little stretch. Gather up your knees into your chest and roll to your side. And then use your hands so that your head can be the last thing to come up to any sort of comfortable seats. Once you're seated, let's place our hands on our heart in gratitude. Grateful that we have the health to do this, the opportunity to do this together. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing this again together soon.